Hello, I'm Li Xuan He, and this is my sign name. Welcome to this Deaf What interview. We're interviewing Yannick Gareau, and this is his sign name. I'm looking forward to learning more about you. Can you tell me more about who you are? Hello, I'm Yannick. I'm 36, and I've been an artist ever since I was a kid. I've been actively involved in multiple kinds of arts throughout my life. I'm an actor, director, costume designer, deaf interpreter for theater, amongst many other things. I'm also from a deaf family. My parents are both deaf, my brother is deaf, and my wife is also deaf with Usher syndrome. My children are deaf too. There's a certain kind of deaf pride in my family. Are you first generation or second? Technically, I'm second generation. So that means your kids are third. My kids are third generation deaf, hoping for a fourth generation in the future. Here's to hoping for fifth, sixth, and seventh. Yes. So how did you get involved in costume designing for theater? It's a long story. Initially, my focus wasn't in sewing. I never got into it. My mom would sew, but I didn't see it. When I was growing up, I dreamt of becoming an actor. At the end of my high school years, I tried to get into their acting program. One of the hearing staff there proclaimed that deaf people couldn't act. I was devastated. I can't? My dad eventually pushed me to study to become a deaf teacher. I was in university for one semester, and I decided that it didn't feel like who I was. I felt a connection to the arts. My mom and I had a really good conversation about what to do. My friends urged me to get into costume designing because they always thought I looked fashionable and had amazing costumes. I was intrigued. I looked into the program and decided to register for the fun of it. There wasn't a reason why I shouldn't get into costume design. Costumes are a huge part in acting. So I thought, why not? And registered for the program. It's kind of a funny story. When I registered, I assumed it was going to be a drawing-based program. I thought I would just design the concept in costuming design. The first class I arrived at was a room full of sewing machines and about 30 people sitting in it. I thought it was a mistake and that I entered the wrong classroom. I told the interpreter that it was the wrong class and looked through my papers until I realized it was the right classroom. Sewing? Seriously? I never thought that I would be sewing immediately in my first class, and as soon as I turned on, the needles moved so rapidly and loudly. I learned with many mistakes for about 3 years in school. It was 3 beautiful years. I take pride in studying sewing as a goal of mine. I wanted to take part in an internship opportunity with Cirque du Soleil. Well known for their acrobatic performances in Quebec, the USA, Las Vegas. I wanted it, and I got it. They selected only 3 of us out of 30 students. Wow, competitive. Exactly. They really picked me, 3 of us out of 30. I really savored the 1 month I spent there learning. I had an interpreter with me for the first day because I was new with everything, and I wanted to prove that deaf can. I only wanted the interpreter there with me for the first day. For the next 3 weeks, I had no interpreter. I relied heavily on reading the lips of those around me. I did it out of passion. I really wanted to be part of the team, but the work was extremely strict. If you made an even 0.5 millimeter error, they won't accept it. I was so invested in sewing, but I failed to get a job there. I hold that experience close to me, and I look back in joy. That's how I got into costume designing. I was about 21 when I started sewing. Funnily enough, my mom told me that my grandfather, who was from Italy, was a tailor. Oh, so the talent passed through generations. It's in the blood, precisely. That was the moment I decided I was fine with costume designing. It's my journey. Wow, having no interpreters for 3 weeks must have been so challenging. Did you have any other challenges like that? While it was incredibly challenging, I was fortunate enough to have 3 other people who were close with me there. Whenever I didn't understand what was going on, I would go ask them and they would explain what had happened. They were really nice hearing students who were also my friends. We forged that connection after spending 3 years together. Additionally, the trainer there was really patient, understanding, and had empathy. The staff in Cirque du Soleil were amazing. They interacted with the intention of wanting me to be successful. They didn't brush me off. They also wanted to learn a few signs, and I taught them some. The whole experience was really challenging, but nothing much more challenging than that. I mostly read lips there, and by the last day was completely exhausted. So it sounds like overall it was a wonderful learning experience for you. Absolutely, and it was so cool that I could touch their costumes from the shows. All the stuff was hung up and I couldn't resist to feel the fabrics with awe. No one else could touch it but me. True, it feels like a privilege. Yes, there's this famous artist, Thierry Mugler, who recently passed away. A famous costume designer. I was able to touch the real drawings on paper that he created. I was in awe and kept thinking, oh my god, it was exciting. It seems like you have good memories from it. Yes, good memories. It also affected my decision after I finished the program. I decided for myself. There was a deaf agency who contacted me in search of more deaf youth. People in agencies nowadays have older adults working, and they need more youth workers. I had an idea of hosting a big show event. I worked on it for a year with other deaf people. I wasn't the only costume designer there. There was another one who just moved to the US. This is her sign name, Bridget, and the two of us founded the project. By the time it was over, I learned so much from it. With the immense deaf culture, deaf dynamics, the deaf walk, the fashion, the style, everything. We recruited 90 volunteers, and I oversaw a lot. I did makeup, hair, costuming. Every week we had rehearsals, and I was involved with all of them. At the end it was exhausting, but definitely worth it. We had a full house, 420 people, even the top balcony was full, for one night. Absolutely, it was worth it. I hold it close to my heart, and in my book that I've written, I can now check off one of my dreams growing up. It came true. Precisely. I'm deeply grateful for my mom, who was there for me the whole time. I've worked so many hours, worked almost 70 hours a week, but only got paid for 40. My heart was wholly invested. It was good. It gave me another opportunity after that, too. When I finished the event, I felt burnt out. And then a friend tells me, why don't we set up a business? The three of us. She was talented in theater. The three of us pulled Spill Propagation in Ottawa. I'm from Montreal. I'm French, by the way. And I moved to Ottawa-Gatineau area. The three of us set up another show. The show was different. The first one was more music involved along with fashion runways. The second is more theater-based. It's based on a book that was written in France. And it's about Down syndrome. It's a heart-touching story. The main character felt different in identity from others around him, trying to immerse himself into a typical world, rather. Once I read it, it made me think that I could change the story with a deaf perspective, a deaf world, my story. I found my identity mostly because I have deaf family, but more from an oral fixation upbringing in mainstream school. I switched over to signing when I grew older. It is important to sign. It's in our culture, and I wanted to show that. I called the author himself and asked if he minded if I made a revision to the book and redistributed it in the form of a play. He said yes, and that began my next journey as a director for a total of 9 actors. The person who did the stage decor was deaf. I did the costume design, of course. I was an actor as well. Actor, costume designer, and director all in one. We completed 2 shows, and it was phenomenal. We were supposed to tour, but there were things that happened and led to us not being able to tour. The budget couldn't sustain it. That's too bad. Do you have any future plans? A goal? Well, since I resigned from Spill Propagations, I have my family. I have children. My art has a connection to my children. They're growing up now. They're 8 and 6. My dream is still there in my heart. I plan to continue getting involved in the arts. I'm just waiting for a good opportunity. I want something different. Now that I've learned that holding too many roles is a bad idea, I think I should fulfill just one. And balance that with family. Not focus too much on work and balance your time in between. I get such an intense focus and then I get burnt out. Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to manage my energy too. I look forward to other opportunities, and if they happen, I'll have to decide between acting or costume designing. They're both my passions, so it doesn't matter to me which choice I make. I get it. What do you hope to see happen in the deaf theater industry someday? I still have a dream of what? So I've seen this one deaf performance called The Black Drum. The translation blew me away. I haven't seen it in person, I only saw it on television, but I wish I had the chance to see it in person. Yeah, being in the audience is better. It feels different. Yeah, the rush you feel moves up your chest like music. I fell in love with music and it's a huge part of me. The representation of deaf culture, I wish there was more like that, like Cirque du Soleil, the dancing in the air and artistic expressions. Maybe in the near future, I'll keep an eye out for a good opportunity. Fingers crossed. Yes, fingers crossed, we'll see. Do you have any advice for deaf artists, actors, or costume designers? My advice. As an artist, you have a passion. If you have a dream, follow it. Don't let others tell you that you can't, like my teacher did. If I didn't listen and knew that I could do it, maybe my journey would have been different. Maybe I would have been more hands-on and involved. But remember to listen to your inside, follow your intuition, what your heart says. It doesn't matter if you know money is not stable in the arts. If you want to feel happy, you can do it. If you dream about it, go ahead. That's my advice. Another piece of advice I have would be to not burn yourself out. Balance. I learned. Self-care is important. Absolutely. It was different when I was young. I would go full speed. But now I'm 36. I get burnt out easily. Balance is good for my health. Best to take care of yourself, and your body will bring your best work. That's true. Very true. When you talk about being burnt out, how did you balance it and shift your focus to joy? Breaks. You need breaks for yourself. Draw, walk outside. I feel more joy now than during COVID. I've missed just sitting and seeing real shows, feeling the joy, seeing hands waving, feeling claps rumble, hearing the music. Being inside the theater, watching the interpreters, everything, all of it, that's my joy, and I've missed it. I traveled to Cuba recently. One night there was a show, and I went to sit and felt, the music, the cheers, and the claps. That's my balance. I want to escape my bubble sometimes, just walk around daydreaming. Or even when I'm alone, I sign along boldly to a song, and that gives me joy for my days. Oh, absolutely, it would feel good for sure. Absolutely. Do you have any thoughts you want to share with the hearing world? For the hearing world, well, right now in 2022, new things that are deaf related have popped up. Seeing Troy Kotzker win, there's a good amount of deaf opportunity. If you meet a deaf artist and feel anxious with the how-tos, please put your fear aside. If you judge or assume things, put that aside too. Try to just be here together in person. Deaf artists have many skills. Don't be afraid. Go ahead and connect. You'll see that we have lots to give. Deaf artists have a lot to give hearing people to help them grow. You say you hope the world will be more open and work with deaf people. Do you have any thoughts you want to share with the deaf community? Yes, the deaf community has been growing lately, especially in the LSQ community. There's been an uptick of our youth wanting to be artists too. There's more popping up now, and I want to say that it's good. Keep it up. But at the same time, I want to see more activity. Maybe with the pandemic, it feels like there's less activity out there, but the encouragement's there. I want to support those beautiful youth because they're my future, like my daughter. She's been saying that she wants to act and to be in film. I see myself in her. I want her to be able to grow and blossom, especially in the LSQ community. Compared to the ASL community, you don't see much relating to LSQ out there. There's no representation on TV. I want more support for the French and LSQ community to elevate us, to show hearing people that we exist, and to show them what we have. Do you have anything else you'd like to add? Let me think. To add? Just what I've said. Follow your heart. Follow your dreams. Thank you, Yannick, for interviewing with the Deaf What Legacy Project. We also want to acknowledge the Canada Council of the Arts for funding this project. Thank you, Yannick. My pleasure. Thank you, Li Xuan.